Our first guest today, a local lawyer, Robert Houck from Houck and Downing Law Firm. Afternoon,
Yes.
sir.
Good
Welcome.
afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Nice to see you.
You and your wife have an office together?
Yes, we do. We've been married 34 years. We work together. We live together. We're always at home, always at work.
Some people would say you're crazy. We're
Yeah,
working.
There are moments. There are moments.
All right, you specialize in you specialize in elder law and veterans benefits.
That's correct.
Yeah. Do you do any criminal work or just
No.
nothing at all?
No,
Okay.
our practice is strictly limited to the elderly and those and veterans. Some of the veterans are not that elderly, but we do compensation benefits for veterans. That's service connected. Doesn't matter where they served or when they served. If they were injured in the service, even if they were injured at home on leave, and they have some permanency, that they can get compensation. And it ranges from 0 to 100% in increments of 10. And you may think, well, what is the 0%? Well, 0% could be a scar, an appendix scar.
Mm-hmm.
However, that 0% will get your kids a tuition waiver at any of the state-sponsored community colleges, state colleges,
Not bad.
and UCs. It doesn't cover all the books and stuff, but I say it's not bad. It's a tuition waiver.
Yeah.
And that can sometimes then dovetails with taking care of, we deal a lot with the sandwich generation, where their people have elderly parents they're caring for, they've got kids coming up going to college, they need that money freed up from college to help take care of the parents. Well, if I can get the kids a tuition waiver with even, like I say, a 0% total for the parent, then that's money. That's $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a semester or a quarter, whatever it is, the UC systems these days. And that covers grad school. So they can go to graduate school with that too. I have a cousin down in Bakersfield, and his brother's son is at Bolt Law School right now up at UC Berkeley, going on a tuition waiver program.
So most veterans aren't aware that these benefits are out there, available
Most,
to them?
you know, most of the veterans are not available. Most lawyers that do veterans benefits concentrate on aid and attendance. And aid and attendance has some drawbacks. There's a three.
What does that mean, aid and attendance?
Aid and attendance, excuse me, it's a pension program.
Pension, okay.
And you have to have served during the period of war, and we've been at war a lot in this country. And you have to have a medical need. You have to have at least 2 of the average daily living activities that you need assistance with, getting to the bathroom, fixing meals, people doing your shopping, doing your laundry, doing your house cleaning, those type of things, taking care of your finances. And then you have to have a limited amount of money. Well, what they do when they talk about aid and attendance, and people don't stress this enough, is they impoverish you. They take all of your money, put it in an irrevocable trust, which means it's really hard to get it back out. And
The government takes that?
No. You put it in a trust, you put a trustee up, when it's generally a family member or child, and you're dependent upon them to do the right thing with the money. Now, you and I both know, you've been around long enough, the kids will not always do the right thing, and then there gets to be a problem. And I've had cases where I did one with a lady in conjunction with some life care planning, and one of her sons, I asked her all the critical questions. Do your sons have any problems with gambling, any of the addictions? Sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever it is, do they have any problems? She said no. 6 weeks after we had the trust set up, got a word from the bank that one of the trustees had got a ATM card and was using it at Table Mountain. Yes, that created some problems. We got it all paid back, but when I asked her about it, she said, well, he told me he was all better. And my background is I came from law enforcement to the insurance industry, worked fraud units for 20-some-odd plus years. I've been in practice I graduated from law school in '94, so it'll be 20 years this month that I graduated.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's another story. But anyway, I've always done some estate planning. But as my wife came out of law school in 2005, we shifted entirely. I've gotten older. I'm cutting back my practice somewhat these days. Marcy's doing a lot. We do elder abuse cases too, which are very difficult, very nerve-wracking, because you have an elderly person who's being abused financially.
Who hires you in those kind of cases?
Generally, the children will hire us.
The children, okay.
Or sometimes a parent will come in. I've actually had parents come to me and say, look, my child is abusing me. How do I stop it? And what are they doing to abuse you? Well, they come and they hit me. And in one
Call
case,
911.
yeah, call 911. And they've done that, and the police will come and they'll evict the child for 72 hours, get a temporary restraining order, but then the parents wouldn't follow through. And in that case, I turned them down as a client because I said, if you're not going to follow through, don't use me as the whipping boy. I don't want to wake up nights wondering what's happening to you and have to worry about that and then try to sleep on top of it. I said, I can't do that. So we wouldn't take that case.
Well, it's hard taking sides in a parent-child dispute like that, right?
It's very difficult. With our case in our office, the elderly person is always a client first if they have capacity. Capacity is a legal term. The layperson's concept of this is, do they know what they're doing? Do they know how much money they have at a bank? Do they know who their children are? Do they know where they live? Do they know what day of the week it is? All of these things, we will talk with the parents, find out if they've got the legal term for capacity, and then we will work with them. If they don't, we'll see who has power of attorney, if they have a valid power of attorney. I have one case right now where the power of attorney was done by a nameless church organization, and it's useless because it didn't impart any powers. They didn't know what they were doing. So now we're stuck in with conservatorship. Conservatorship is where you go into court and ask the court to take away your parents' or your loved ones' rights. They don't have a right to vote. They don't have a right to control their residence. They don't have a right to control their medical. They can't control their finances. They can't control anything. So essentially, you revert them back to a child. And that's a rough thing to do to a parent.
Yeah.
It's hard. A lot of people don't want to do that. So ours gets to be kind of a nerve-wracking tightrope from time to time.
If I was in your position, I'd get very angry if I saw elderly people being abused, veterans not getting benefits that they're entitled to. Do you just channel that anger into trying to find a solution to their problems?
You can't. A friend of mine, Hal Green's an attorney down in Southern California, and I've known Hal for 40 years, and he's the kind of attorney, if you shake hands with him, you count your fingers afterwards. The jewelry's already gone. He's really good, in other words.
A typical attorney.
Yeah, typical attorney, really good, but a really nice guy. And he said, don't ever become personally involved in a case. You cannot afford it, because when you become personally involved, you've lost.
You have to step back.
You have to step back, and it is the hardest thing we do on a day-to-day basis, is to step back and say, I'm not personally involved. What do I do to make it right? Can I make it right? And if I do make it right, what's going to happen? Because sometimes if we set up a conservatorship, the parent may want to stay in their home, and it's no longer possible for them to stay in their home. They leave the stove on all the time. They don't go get groceries themselves. They don't fix meals. They can't be at home. And so now you've got to take them out of their home, and that's really a tough thing to do. I was pretty much raised by my grandparents, and I watched them go through the stages where Grandpa had to give up driving. That's a hard talk to have.
Hard to take those keys away.
Hard to take those keys away. My advice to people is, if you're afraid of your parents driving, talk to their doctor. Their doctor can fill out a report, give it to the DMV, let the doctor and the DMV be the bad guy.
Good advice.
That's where to go with it.
Okay. All right. Tell everyone where your office is, how they can find you.
We're located at 2001 North Van Ness Boulevard, just up the road, or at the corner of Van Ness and Weldon, right just north of Fresno High. And our office phone number is area code 559-229-8109. And you can get a hold of us on the web at how-downing.com or Central Valley Elder Law.
Central Valley Elder Law.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you up there by the Big Red Church, that area?
Just south of it.
Just south of the Big Red
We're
Church.
right there at the corner where Fresno High is on one side of Weldon. We're on the next building just north of it.
Okay.
And some people remember it as the old Stillman's Drugstore building. From this,
When does that go back to, the 80s?
It goes back to the further. I have clients that were World War II veterans that one of them said that he got the news about Pearl Harbor when he was at the corner of Van Ness and Weldon on his bike. He's right by the drugstore and the soda shop. I was going there, when I heard the news, and I turned around and went home. So it goes back to the 70s when it was converted, Novel Air Acts.
Yeah. If you're out in that area and you haven't seen what they did to Fresno High the past few years, it is a beautiful restoration they did.
It was horrible. Excuse me. It was horrible
terrible
for us
before.
while it was before into construction, to live with the
But now-
jackhammers and stuff, and now it's aesthetically very beautiful.
It's worth going out there just to check it out. All
It
right.
is.
Robert, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you, Mike.
Robert Houck, attorney at law here
All right,
in
thank you.
Fresno on CentralValleyTalk.com.